There are three ways that we can test a worldview. First, we can ask, does it actually answer the larger questions of life? Is it helpful? Second, we might ask, is it universally operational? Will it work anywhere? And then third, does it stand the test of time? Is it durable? Whatever lens that you or anyone else is using to view the world, it is this mashup, a coming together of your ultimate foundations, your pre-beliefs, your presuppositions. It's a collection of those things that you accept as true by default without even having to think about it. I love this quote by Bernard Ram. He says, all thinking is from presuppositions. There can be no thinking without presuppositions. And therefore, all respectable thinking is from sound presuppositions. Any neutrality, quote unquote, in science, philosophy, or religion is fictional. The only respectable procedure is to admit that one thinks from presuppositions and to choose those presuppositions in a responsible manner. We actually we retain the freedom and the ability to decide what we're going to believe. But most of us don't actually think through our ultimate foundations. We just kind of download them from someone who is influential, who has influence over us. But our worldview is critically important because it's our starting point for interpreting everything in the world. And ultimate foundations are always circular in nature. That is to say that a worldview always returns to itself. If I know where your worldview begins, I can accurately predict where it's going to end. For example, if you begin with the pre-belief that God does not exist, no amount of evidence is going to be able to change your mind until you alter that pre-belief to allow for the possibility of the existence of God. Something's going to happen in your life to challenge your ultimate foundations and open your mind to the possibility that God might exist before you can consider any evidence fairly. How we interpret information and evidence will determine the conclusions that we reach in response to that evidence. Have you ever known someone who was arguing a position that was indefensible, but no amount of contrary evidence could get them to change their mind? They just doubled down harder and harder with their original belief, even when it was obvious to everyone else they were wrong. Why? Because their presuppositions, their ultimate foundations, could not allow for the possibility that they were wrong. Have you ever known someone who was in a relationship that was a dead end and everyone else could see that it was a dead end? The evidence was so obvious, but their ultimate foundation for the relationship told them that it was good, and they wouldn't even consider the possibility that it needed to come to an end. They had to reach what is often called a breaking point. It's all about worldview in life. And we know that actions have consequences, but actions are born out of ideas, and ideas build worldviews. This is why public school curriculum now is no longer teaching our children that 2 + 2 = 4, but instead now it's working overtime to define what it means to be human, to ask the question what it means to love or what it means to be kind. And all of the definitions in our public schools are intentionally anti-biblical. Jesus gives us the parable of the wise and the foolish builders in Matthew chapter 7, starting with verse 24. Check this out. Therefore, everyone who hears these words of mine and puts them into practice is like a wise man who built his house on the rock. The rain came down, the streams rose, and the winds blew and beat against that house, yet it did not fall because it had its foundation on the rock. But everyone who hears these words of mine and does not put them into practice is like a foolish man who built his house on sand. The rain came down, the streams rose, and the winds blew and beat against that house, and it fell with a great crash. Now, there's a lot going on in this parable, but the most direct application speaks to foundations. And Jesus here offers us two options: rock and sand. When your ultimate foundation, when your worldview is built on bedrock, it will stand strong. But if you build your foundation on sand, shifting and unsteady, it will fall with a great crash when the storms of life come. And folks, the storms of life always come. Now, this next point is so important and sadly has become somewhat forgotten or abandoned in our churches. But listen, there is only one foundation, one worldview that is built on bedrock, and that is the biblical worldview. All other worldviews are sinking sand, as we say. All other beliefs, without exception, lead to destruction. And this point seems now oddly resisted in Christian circles. Maybe it's because we don't want to come across as judgmental. Perhaps our obsession with understanding other religions or worldviews sort of phenomenologically has stifled our ability to distinguish what is good and true from what is cruel and untrue. But there is only one way. And if Jesus is to be believed, very few people will find it. Now, in the next video, I want to zoom in and sort of click on the larger questions in life, what they are, and what our options are for how we can answer them. So make sure you check out video 4 in this series.